Hello everyone. So this is the second part of the differential equation practice from elimination of arbitrary constant papunta sa application ng first order differential equation. So let's begin. Meron tayong x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, where your r is an arbitrary constant. So if you will remember how to eliminate the arbitrary constant, may tatlong step tayo, di ba? Unang step is to count how many arbitrary constant is given. So as you can see, si R lang ay isang arbitrary constant lang siya. Okay? That's the only arbitrary constant. Siya lang mag-isa. Okay? The rest are just variables. So, now that you determine the number of arbitrary constant, ano yung second step natin kung naalala nyo? So, if you counted the arbitrary constant, which is just only one arbitrary constant, then, ibig sabihin nun, isang beses mo lang siyang i-differentiate. Kumbaga, the second step, the number of arbitrary constant given in an equation is the number of times you're going to differentiate. So, ibig sabihin nun, since isa lang si arbitrary constant dito, so isang beses natin siyang i-differentiate. So, we will have the first derivative, 2x plus 2y, y prime is equal to 0. Ayan na. So, na yun, what's the third step? Ang third step is basically find a way or a method to remove an arbitrary constant if at least one of them is existing. Otherwise, yan na yung magiging final sagot mo. So, since ito na yung final differentiation natin and as you can see, wala na si arbitrary constant, so therefore, ito na yung magiging final na sagot natin. Pero we can still simplify this one because in this expression sa kaliwa, both of them are, the terms here, 2x and 2y, y prime, both of them are divisible by 2. So we can factor out the 2 here. So we will have 2 times quantity, x plus y, y prime is equal to 0. Ayan. Then, pwede naman to as your final answer. No problem naman. Pero kung gusto mong matanggal si 2, you can divide both sides by 2. So what happens pag dinivide mo si equation nito by 2? So we will have x plus y times y prime is equal to 0. So yun, eto nakasimplify na to. So for me, I'm going to leave this as my final answer. So this is my final answer dito. Kung gusto nyo, i-transpose nyo to transpose nyo to si x sa kanan, wala namang problema. Or i-transpose mo si y prime sa kanan, wala ding problema. Because the answer is still correct. Okay? So yun. Ngayon, let's have this equation naman. So we have the square of x minus h plus y squared is equal to r squared. So in here, yung h mo at saka si r, parehas silang arbitrary constant. So what are we going to do? So we're going to do the same thing. Okay? We will follow the 3 steps. Okay? So una, count how many arbitrary constant. So meron tayong h at saka si r. So we have 2 arbitrary constant. So the second step, the number of arbitrary constant given is the number of times you're going to differentiate. So since meron tayong dalawang arbitrary constant, ibig sabihin nun, dalawang beses natin siyang i-differentiate. So let's get our first derivative. So we will have 2 times quantity, x minus h times 1 plus 2y, y prime is equal to 0. Okay? So kung magtaka pala kayo, kasi si r, di ba, arbitrary constant lang siya. Di ba kanina, kasi kapag arbitrary constant, okay, at kukunin mo yung derivative niya, di ba 0 siya? So, is it still the same thing kapag meron siyang exponent? Okay, katulad nito, si r squared. So, is it the same implication na rin? The answer is yes. Kaya kung nagtaka kayo sa first problem, bakit kaya pag kinuha yung derivative ng r squared 0? Kasi, yung r, isa siyang arbitrary constant. So, kahit na i-square mo yung arbitrary constant mo, it's still a constant. So, therefore, ano pa rin ang magiging resulta pag na-differentiate mo yun? 0 pa rin siya. Okay? So let's simplify further. So ito magiging 2 times quantity x minus h plus 2yy prime. Okay, ayan. Pwede pa natin itong i-simplify. Okay? Itong first derivative na to, we can still simplify this one. Itong first term at saka si second term, both of them are divisible by 2. So we will have 2 times quantity x minus h plus y prime. Okay? Then, pwede ko tanggalin si 2 rito by dividing both sides by 2. So we will have quantity x minus h. Wait, lang, ayusin ko lang to ha. Yan, x minus h plus y prime is equal to 0. Ayan. So ito, since kasi naka-quantity lang to, o kumbaga naka-parenthesis lang siya, and yung coefficient lang niya ay wala kundi si 1, then we can just remove the parenthesis at gawin na lang natin siya ay x minus h. Ulitin ko. So, ano nangyari? Bakit nawala yung parenthesis dito? Since kasi, ang coefficient nito kasi kapag may nakita kang parenthesis nito ay automatically 1 siya. So, kung i-multiply mo yung 1 dito sa parenthesis na to, ano maging resulta? X minus h pa rin siya. Okay? So, therefore, kapag may nakita ka lang naka-parenthesis pero wala namang siyang coefficient except si 1, pwede mo namang tanggalin yung parenthesis. So, we have x minus h na. Okay? Gagets na? So, yun na yun. So, let's go back. Ito, nakasimplify na to. So, this is our what? First derivative. I-label natin to as your first derivative para di tayo mahirapan. Okay? So, now, nakuha natin si first derivative. Are we done? Hindi pa. Bakit? Kasi nga, we're going to differentiate the equation twice kasi dalawang arbitrary constant natin. So, therefore, kunin natin yung second derivative na. So, ito, once again, this is your first derivative, di ba? X minus h plus y prime is equal to 0. Okay? So, ngayon, let's get the derivative. Okay? Second derivative, kumbaga. So, we will have 1. Kaya lang derivative ni x ay 1. Derivative ng negative h, which is 0 kasi arbitrary constant lang siya. Then this one, kung kukunin mo itong derivative nito, itong si y at saka si y prime, you're going to apply product rule. Okay? So you will have y times y second prime plus y prime times y prime. Okay? So na yun, let's simplify. So you have 1 plus y times y second prime plus the square of y prime or y prime squared. So as you can see, kung mapapansin nyo, wala na si arbitrary constant, kundi ito na lang siya. Okay? So, that means, ito na yung magiging final answer mo. Okay? So, di ba nakuha natin yung second derivative niya, right? Which is yun yung final derivative niya. And ano sabi ko ulit sa third step? Pag sa third step, after mo nakuha yung derivative, and then meron pa rin siyang arbitrary constant, at least one of them, anong gagawin natin? We're going to find another way or a method para matanggal siya. Unless, yan na yung magiging final sagot mo. Kumbaga like, kapag wala naman talagang arbitrary constant, so we can just leave it as your final answer. Or better yet, if hindi pa ito nakasimplify, i-simplify mo na yung sagot mo. So, in this case, dito, sa problema na to, we get the second derivative na. Ito yung second derivative niya eh. Okay? This is the second derivative. And as you can see, after nakuha natin second derivative, wala na yung arbitrary constant. So therefore, yan na yung magiging sagot natin. Okay? Now, paano naman to? Like, we have the square of x minus h plus the square of y minus k is equal to r squared, where your k, h, and r are all arbitrary constants. So, what are we going to do? So, the same thing. Let's apply the steps. Okay? So, as you can see, kung makikita natin, meron tayong 1, 2, and 3 arbitrary constants. So, ibig sabihin nun, kukunin natin yung derivative nitong equation na to tatlong beses. Okay? Kasi first step is to count how many arbitrary constants, di ba? Then the second step is, once you determine the number of arbitrary constants, that will be also the number of times you're going to differentiate. Or sa Tagalog, kapag kung ilan man yung arbitrary constant mo, yan din yung ilang beses mo siyang i-differentiate. So dahil dito, we have 3 arbitrary constants. Therefore, we will get the derivative for this equation thrice. Okay? So first, let's get the first derivative. So ang first derivative nito ay 2 times quantity x minus h times 1 plus 2 times quantity y minus k times y prime is equal to 0. So we can still simplify this one. So we will have 2 times quantity x minus h plus 2y prime times quantity y minus k is equal to 0. Ayan. So we can still once again simplify this one kasi both of these terms, okay, yung nasa kaliwa, are all divisible by 2. So we can factor out 2 dito. So we will have quantity x minus h plus y prime times y minus k then is equal to 0. So para matanggal si 2, we will divide both sides by 2. So yun, meron na tayong quantity x minus h plus y prime times quantity y minus k is equal to 0. And since ito, si x minus h, nasa loob ng parenthesis, at wala na siyang coefficient, kundi si 1 lang, then pwede natin itong tanggalin ng parenthesis. So we will have x minus h. Ayan, that's it. So what to do? Okay? So na yun, ito na yung magiging first derivative mo. Okay? So, let's get now the second derivative. So, punta tayo dito sa sa right side, okay, ng space. So, let's copy the first derivative natin muna para di tayo makalito. Ayan. Okay. So, let's get the second derivative. Okay. So, ang second derivative nito ay 1 plus 0 plus, dito naman sa third term, we can apply product rule. So, ito, y prime times y prime plus quantity y minus k times y second prime. Okay? So I apply product rule here. So if you still don't know how to use product rule, I recommend na mag-review kayo tungkol doon. Like product rule of differentiation. Okay? So anyways, na yun, nakuha ko na yung second derivative nito. Let's simplify this second derivative. So we will have 1 plus, etong dalawa, since y prime times y prime, magiging quantity y prime squared or, mali pala ko. Quantity, mali. Y prime squared, yun. Y prime squared tawag nyo rito. Na-quantity to kasi malilito kayo kung saan nyo malalagay itong exponent. Okay? Kasi since ito, meron siyang apostrophe, di ko malagay dyan si 2. Kasi how would you basically represent it? Okay? So, it's better to put parenthesis, tapos lagyan muna ng exponent sa labas. Okay? So, therefore, we have y prime squared. Ayan. Then, next, copy natin to, yung dulo. So, we have y second prime times quantity y minus k. Ayan na siya. So, ito, this is already simplified. So, ito na yung second derivative mo. But again, hindi pa tayo tapos. Why? Because we will differentiate the equation thrice, di ba? So, meaning, kunin pa natin yung third derivative niya. Okay? So, gagawin ko, I will start from here, I guess. Dito ako magsisimula. Para di tayo, malilito. Okay? So, kopyahin natin to, itong second derivative, 1 plus the square of y prime plus y second prime times quantity y minus k is equal to 0. So, since ito yung second derivative natin, we will get the third derivative. So, by getting the third derivative, this would be 0 plus 2 times y prime times y second prime plus ito sa huli, itong third term na to, gagawin nyo siyang product rule. So, we have y second prime times y prime plus quantity y minus k times y third prime. Ayan. So after that, let's simplify. So if you're going to simplify this one, you will have 2 times y prime, y second prime plus y second prime times y prime plus y third prime times quantity y minus k. Ayan. That's it. Since ito, si 2y prime, y second prime, at saka yung second term, y second prime, y prime, these two are similar to each other. So we can add them together. Okay? So kung i-add nyo tong si 2y prime, y second prime, at y second prime, y prime, magiging 3y second prime times y prime. Okay? So bakit kaya? Why are they similar? Because these two terms, meron siyang y prime, y second prime, and ganun din sa second term, meron siyang y second prime at y prime. So, you can add the coefficients, okay, nitong dalawa. So, therefore, 2y prime times y second prime plus y second prime times y prime is equal to 3y second prime times y prime. Okay? So, let's copy the other terms na. So that's it. This is now your third derivative. And now, ano ulit yung third step natin kung naalala nyo? So, find a way or a method para matanggal si arbitrary constant if at least one of it is still existing. Okay? Otherwise, yan na yung magiging final sagot mo. So, since si k, isa siyang arbitrary constant and until now, hindi pa rin siya matanggal. Therefore, we're going to find a way para matanggal natin tong si k. Okay? So for me, ang gagamitin kong method ay substitution method. Okay? I will use substitution method. And if you're going to recall, itong substitution method na ito, okay, it is one of the methods used in solving a system of equations. Okay? So therefore, I'm going to use equations dito sa problema na to. And what are those equations? Una, yung given problem natin. Tapos pangalawa, yung yung first derivative. Okay? Then yung third equation natin ay yung second derivative. At yung fourth equation natin yung third derivative. Okay. So for me, ang gagawin ko is I will use the third derivative ng given equation natin just to find your k. Then after that, after ko mahanap si k dito sa fourth equation, hanapin ko siya sa third equation or yung second derivative ng given equation natin. Okay? So let's try that. Okay? So we have k. So ang pwede kong gawin, I will distribute y third prime to this parenthesis. So meron tayong 3 times y second prime plus y prime plus y third prime times y minus k times y third prime is equal to 0. So si transpose ko si ky third prime sa sa kanan. So meron akong k times y third prime. Then copyahin ko yung mga ibang terms. 3y second prime times y prime plus y third prime times y. At para makuha ko si k, we will divide both sides by y third prime. So yun, meron na tayong 3y second prime times y plus y third prime times y all over y third prime is equal to your k. Okay. Ngayon, i-substitute ko si k sa second derivative ng given equation or yung third equation mismo, which is ito yun. Okay? So, ikopya ko lang to kasi alam ko medyo mahaba to. So, ilagay natin siya dito. We have this one. Okay, yung third equation mo. So, i-substitute ko si K dito. Okay, sa third equation. So, we will have 1 plus the square of y prime or y prime squared times tuloy, plus y second prime times quantity y minus yung K mo, which is 3 times y second prime times y plus y third prime times y all over y third prime is equal to 0. Now, kung mapapansin nyo, after na-substitute ko si K sa third equation o yung second derivative ng given equation natin, anong napapansin nyo? Di ba wala na si K o yung arbitrary constant? So, after mo na-substitute yun, then yan na yung magiging final answer mo. Tapos na. Okay? Kasi basically, if you use substitution method, tapos na-substitute mo siya sa isang equation, tapos pagka-substitute mo, wala nang arbitrary constant, then yan na yung magiging final sagot mo. That's it. Nothing else pa, kundi yun na yun. Unless, kailangan mo talaga gawin yun. Okay? Kumbaga, after mo ma-substitute yun, which is ito, tapos kung mapapansin nyo, wala na si K, di ba? At wala ng arbitrary constant, yun yung sagot ninyo. Tapos na. Okay, finish na. Pero, after mo na-substitute si K, tapos yun pala, meron palang arbitrary constant dito, then you have no choice kundi hanapin mo rin yun. Okay, katulad yung ginawa natin dun sa previous problem, kung naalala nyo, di ba? Okay, yung ano yun, yung naka-exponential function, di ba? Yun yung gagawin nyo. Okay? Anyways, let's proceed. So, since ito na yung final answer natin, but I wanted to simplify it, so we will simplify this one. So, we have 1 plus the square of y prime plus y second prime times quantity. Ito, I can make this one into a whole fraction by the application of butterfly technique. I think naturo ko na yata sa inyo kung paano mag-butterfly technique. Okay? Basically, okay, kopyahin ko to. Y minus, ano to? Mali pala ako. Y minus 3 times y second prime times y plus y third prime times y. Tama ba ako? Y prime nga to. Sorry, y prime pala to, guys. Y prime. Okay? So that's it. So yan na. So 3 times y second prime times y prime. Ayan. All over y third prime. So we can use butterfly technique here. Since si y isa siyang whole term, we can have a denominator of 1. Okay? Since kasi whole term lang siya. So, multiply y to the y third prime. So we will have y times y third prime. Tapos kopya mo yung operation sa gitna nila. So minus. Tapos 1 times 3y second prime times y prime plus y third prime times y. So we will have 1 times quantity 3 times y second prime times y prime plus y third prime times y. And lastly, multiply the denominators. So 1 times y third prime, meron tayong y third prime. O diba? And since if you're going to multiply 1 to this parenthesis na to, the answer is still the same, which is ito pa rin siya. Okay, which is minus quantity 3y second prime times y prime plus y third prime times y. And since meron siyang negative sign dito, we can distribute it to this expression. So what happens? So magiging so magiging negative na siya. Okay? So we will have y times y third prime minus 3 times y second prime times y prime minus y third prime times y. Yun na yun. Okay? Yun yung maging resulta natin once we make this into a whole fraction. So we will have y times y third prime minus 3 times y second prime times y prime minus y third prime times y all over y third prime. Ayan, is equal to 0. So we can still simplify this one. Okay, pwede pa naman to simplify. Okay, what I can do here is I will distribute itong si y second prime dito sa term na to. So what will happen is that I will multiply y third prime sa sa numerator ng fraction. So we have 1 plus the square of y prime plus y times y second prime times y third prime minus 3 times, wait, mali ba? Ay, tama. 3 times the square of y second prime times y prime minus y third prime times y second prime all over y third prime. And also, kung mapapansin nyo, itong si first term, which is y second prime at y third prime. Tapos dito sa dulo, negative y third prime, y at y second prime. Both of them are similar to each other kasi may parehas silang y second prime at y third prime. So we can combine them because both of them are similar terms. So ano mangyayari pag kinumbine natin sila? Both of them will be canceled out because if you're going to add them together, magiging 0 yan. So therefore, mawawala na to. Okay? Ang matira na lang ay si negative 3 times y second prime squared times y prime. Yan na lang ang matitira nating sagot. Okay? So ipagdikit ko lang ito muna. Ayan, that's it. Okay? Yan. So yun na. So now we can simplify this one further. Okay? So we can make this into a mali pala ako. We can make this whole expression into a fraction since kasi meron tayong term na naka-fraction. So what we can do is we need to make these two terms first into a fraction. Yun yung tinuro ko sa'yo na butterfly technique. Unless meron pa kayong ibang technique that you can use, there's no problem to me anyways, as long as tama naman siya. So, by making this one into a whole fraction, try nyo itong gawin by yourself kasi I'm gonna be straightforward. So, we will have, we will have, y third prime times the square of y prime minus 3 times the square of y second prime times y third prime all over y third. Times y prime all over y third prime. Ayan. And we will do the same thing here as well. Ang dahilan kasi na bakit we do it slowly, para at least alam nyo kung anong gagawin niyo. Okay? Unless kaya nyo naman, so there's no need for me to explain it slowly. So let's make this one into a whole fraction. So we will have y third prime plus y third prime times quantity y prime squared minus 3 times the square of y second prime times y prime all over y third prime is equal to 0. So ito, pwede ko pa itong simplify because we have a denominator of y third prime at meron tayong expression to the right side which is 0. So I can cross multiply. So if I cross multiply, ang mangyayari dyan, mamumultiply si 0 at saka si y third prime. So as a result, meron na tayong y third prime plus y third prime times the square of y prime minus 3 times y second prime squared times y prime is equal to 0. Ayan na siya. Okay? So this one, as you can see, na-simplify natin to. So we can leave this as your final answer. Or pwede pa natin itong i-simplify. Because as you can see, itong terms na to, we can simplify in two ways. First, we can factor out the first two terms by y third prime because both of these terms are divisible by y third prime. So, pwede natin tong i-factor out. So, magiging quantity 1 plus the square of y prime. O, diba? Tapos, kopya na lang natin yung mga ibang terms. So, magiging 3 times y prime times quantity y second prime tapos squared. Ayan na. So, we can leave this as your final answer. Or, pwede nyo namang i-factor out naman itong si second term at saka si third term by factoring the y prime. Pwede naman yun. Okay? So, let me write it on the right side. So, in here, I can factor out, sabi ko, yung y prime dito. So, we will have, y third prime plus y prime times quantity, times quantity, y third prime, ising ko lang to y third prime times y prime minus 3 times the square of y second prime, and that's it. Okay? So, ito, pwede rin to as your final answer. Okay? Pwede na rin to. So, pick which one would you prefer. So, basically, that's it. Now, how about naman pagdating dito? So, we have like the square of x minus h all over a squared plus y squared all over b squared is equal to 1. Now, the same step pa rin tayo, guys. Okay? Basically, let's count how many arbitrary constant are given. So, we have 1, 2, and 3. So, meron tayong tatlong arbitrary constant. So, ibig sabihin nun, sa second step, the number of arbitrary constant given, the number of times you will differentiate. So, since tatlo ang arbitrary constant mo, ibig sabihin nun, tatlong beses mo siyang i-differentiate. Okay? But before that, bago natin siyang i-differentiate, let's try to, i-simplify natin, no? Kasi, I think, if you're going to simplify this one, it would be easier to differentiate, diba? So, itong nasa kaliwa, itong terms na to, since both of them ay naka-fraction, I would like to make them as a whole fraction. So, yung tinuro ko sa inyo na butterfly technique kanina, try to apply that. Or you can apply other methods, okay? On how would you combine a term that at least have one fraction and making it into a whole fraction. So ito, you will have b squared times quantity x minus h squared plus a squared times y squared all over a squared times b squared. Ayan siya. Then, what we're going to do is we will cross multiply. Okay? Since kasi meron tayong denominator na a squared, b squared, we can multiply to the right side. So, kopyahin ko lang yung nasa numerator. And, And on the right side ng equation, 1 times a squared b squared is equal to a squared b squared. Yun, di ba? Mas easy pa. Now, let's get the derivative. So, una, kunin natin yung first derivative nito. So, kung kukunin natin yung first derivative nito, you will have b squared times 2 times x minus h times 1 plus, plus a squared times 2 times y prime is equal to 0. Now, let's observe. Okay? Na-explain ko na to kanina about yung constant na naka-square. Okay? Yung constant na naka-square is still a constant. Kahit na i-square mo yung constant pa rin yung sagot mo. Okay? So, hindi pa rin madadamay. Especially these two. Okay? Magkaiba silang dalawa. Yes. And may kanyang-kanyang silang exponent, which is itong si A, si 2, at saka si B ay 2 rin. Yes. Pero, again, constant times constant, anong maging resulta? The answer is still a what? a constant pa rin. So therefore, kung kukunin mo yung derivative ng dalawang constant that are stick together, 0 pa rin siya. Okay? So you have this one as a result. Now let's simplify. So we will have 2b squared times quantity x minus h plus 2a squared times y prime is equal to 0. Okay na. But we still need to simplify it kasi both of these terms are divisible by 2. So we can factor out the 2 here. So we have b squared times quantity x minus h plus a squared times y prime. So i-divide natin to both sides by 2. We will have b squared times x minus h plus a squared times y prime is equal to 0. So this is now your first derivative. O diba? Ito yung first derivative mo. Ngayon, let's find now your second derivative. Okay? So this is the second time you're going to differentiate. So copy lang natin to. B squared times x minus h plus a squared times y prime is equal to 0. So ito, if you're going to get the second derivative, you will have b squared times 1 kasi yung derivative ng x minus h mo is basically 1 pa rin. Okay, it's still 1. Okay? Yan, there you go. That's it. So 1 plus, okay, ito naman sa second term, just like what we did in the recent problem, we will going to apply product rule. So a squared times y second prime. Okay, wait lang. Ilagay ko ng parenthesis, nakalimutan ko. Wait lang, a squared times quantity. Ito, kunin natin itong derivative nitong dalawa by product rule. So we have y times y second prime plus y second prime times y second prime. Ayan. So we will have b squared plus a squared times quantity y times y second prime plus the square of y prime. Ayusin ko lang tong bracket. Wait lang ha. So yeah, that's it basically. Okay? So this is your your second derivative. So that is your second derivative na. But we're not done yet kasi we still need to find the third derivative. Okay? So what would be the third derivative? Okay, copyain ko lang to, itong naka-second derivative. Okay, ganyan siya. And yun, that's it. Okay. So ano yung third derivative? So ito, ang third derivative ay, this would be 0. Remember, b squared is still a constant. So anong derivative ng constant? 0 pa rin siya. 0 plus a squared times quantity, itong dalawa. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to apply product rule. Ito sa term na to, y times y second prime. Okay, so we will have this one, y times y second, mali pala. Y times y third prime plus y second prime times y prime. Okay. Then next, ito naman, we're going to use chain rule dito sa term na to. So we will have plus 2 times y prime times y second prime. Okay. There we go. So you have a squared times quantity y times y third prime plus y prime times y second prime plus 2 times y prime times y second prime. Okay? So, since, di ba, meron tayong a squared dito sa labas. Okay? So, we can simplify it by dividing it both sides by a squared. Okay? Para ma-simplify natin to. So we will have what? We will have y times y third prime plus y prime times y second prime plus 2 times y prime times y second prime. And we can still simplify this one, okay? Kasi itong second term at saka si last term, both of them are divisible by y prime and y second prime. So we can add them together. Okay, so we will have y times y third prime plus 3 times y times, 3 times y prime times y second prime. O, yan na. So, ito na yung third derivative natin. Now, let's take a look. Okay? Since ito na yung third derivative natin, do you think merong arbitrary constant to? Remember the third step? Find a way or method to remove at least wait lang, mali pala ako ng grammar. Ano ulit yung third step? Third step is basically find a way or a method para matanggal ang arbitrary constant even if at least one of them is still existing. Otherwise, yan na yung magiging final sagot mo. Since, tingnan nyo to, na-simplify natin to, di ba? We simplified this one. And as you can see, wala nang arbitrary constant. Why? Kasi, kinancel natin, di ba? Kasi di ba nakalabas si a squared. Eh, si a squared, arbitrary constant din yan. Tapos yun, ang ginawa ko is that, pwede ko tong tanggalin because we can simplify this way. Okay? Pwede ko siyang i-simplify. So since I have a squared on the outside, why not divide a squared on both sides? Yun, pagka divide natin si a squared on both sides, anong nangyari? We have what? Ito, di ba? Ito na yung result. Then we found out that the last term, so inad natin silang dalawa. So therefore, ito na yung third derivative natin. So as you can at na tanggal natin si arbitrary constant. So what does that mean? It means okay na to. Okay? Your answer is this one. Finish. Okay? Since there's no arbitrary constant left kasi na-simplify mo na, therefore, your final answer is y times y third prime plus 3 times y prime times y second prime is equal to 0. Yan na yung magiging final answer mo. Okay? So, that's it. Okay? Basically, yun na yun. Okay? So, if you're asking me, so pwede palang i-divide natin itong a squared o yung huling arbitrary constant natin to in both sides? The answer is yes. Okay, pwede. Wala namang problema ron eh. It's like this one eh. Kunwari, di ba, meron tayong, let's just say, x squared minus x is equal to 0. Okay? And then here, di ba, kung ipa-factor out mo, magiging x times quantity, x minus 1 siya, di ba? So, we can divide both sides by x kung gusto mo matira lang si x minus 1. So if you're going to divide both sides by x, ang matitira ay x minus 1 is equal to 0. O di ba? Mas simplified pa from this one to this one. Okay? So, the same thing rin pagdating dito. Okay? The same thing rin dito. Okay? Dito. Parehas lang naman actually sila. One more example, ito pa. Sabihin natin ito. Sabihin natin 3 times quantity x squared plus 1 is equal to 0. 3 times quantity x squared plus 1. Yun. So, since si 3, si constant to, pwede natin siyang tanggalin eh. We can divide both sides by 3. Okay? So, ano matitira? We will have x squared plus 1 is equal to 0. O, diba? So, we can do that. Okay? Ito yung ginawa ko rito. O, diba? At least, nung ginawa mo yan, dinivide mo si a squared, okay, on both sides, ano nangyari? Wala na si a squared, na-eliminate na siya. O, diba? So, you see, meaning, we did already what we could here. Tapos na tayo rito. Okay? We are already done. So, this is now our final answer. Okay?